Well, hello everyone and welcome to another video. How is everyone doing? For today's game we are having a very hard game, and the main reason is, as you all know it, we are facing a heavy damage composition. Only issue with that is that we don't a decent build with Volibear to sustain mixed heavy damage. But in this game we are trying to reach Emerald, so we should try harder and find a suitable build for this game. Now of course, if you play a champion that is very predictable, you should only go for one strategy, and that is to be unstoppable. From that point of view, we got this build. The build is very simple. We will be going for Riftmaker, Winter's Approach, Frozen Heart, and Spirit Visage. Now, after doing a little bit of research, I found out that the highest win rate build with enough damage to stay relevant in the game is to start with Riftmaker. Some would agree, some would disagree, but only issue with that item, it is very expensive, and as junglers we want to have a lead and spread that lead as fast as possible before the mid game. So if you are behind, you won't notice your lead until you get at least 3 items. We need to get 2 objectives as fast as possible: first tower and first blood. Now in this situation across the map, I wanted to gank topside. The only issue is that topside was a little bit greedy, so we died, but we got the first blood, which is okay in my opinion. The second issue is that in this game, the only safe lane to gank is topside. Mid lane in this specific situation, Gragas against Sylas, is very safe for both laners. Bot side on the other hand is a very volatile lane. For example, if you gank him, you won't be sure that the lane is safe, because one gank or one teleport can ruin everything that you have built in bot side. On the other hand, for top lane, it is okay because top lane is an isolated lane, and if you put just a little bit of advantage for either one of the laners, for example, either you fail the gank or succeed in making the gank work, either way, the success and the failure are both guaranteed on top side. You noticed in this encounter, we are under level, Graves have the superior advantage, but this is the power of Prio. My bot side managed to rotate faster than the enemy bot side along with the mid laner, and that gave us another kill. So in the brain of Graves, he looked at my level, his level, and I'm sure he noticed my weird setup of runes, so he was like, I can kill this guy. But the matter of the reality is, he shouldn't contested that scuttle. This situation happens to me as well. I have the advantage of the level, I have the advantage of the items, or I'm simply very ahead, but I am outnumbered in the wrong neighborhood. I get my fist pushed in, and we either lose an objective, lose Drake, or simply lose the game. And this is one of the hardest things that you need to learn as a jungler, is patience. Sometimes your team will not be your aspiring team until the 20-minute marks, and you should be patient. Now let's discuss our rune set. You might wonder, why Grasp of the Undying on Volibear? A lot of players will agree that Press the Attack is the best rune on Volibear. Now, this rune does something that is totally different from Press the Attack. I would advise you to not go this rune until you know the logic behind. Now, the only advantage that I have from this rune is to build a lead simply from HP. Now you might wonder, how is that working in your Grasp of the Undying as a rune wins game because you learn patience and you understand how to duel properly. On the other hand, Press the Attack will give you damage when you want to, but it will always put you in a reckless situation. For example, you will dive someone, get the damage, it's 8% extra damage as the fight progresses. On the other hand, with Grasp of the Undying, the question that arises in your brain is that, can we get some free HP while staying alive? Because you should remember, as a jungler, you only go for kills with your allies. You only provide either the CC or the damage. With Volibear, we have the CC, we have the sustain, so we don't really need the damage. Now at this instance, we are reaching the end of the early game and the start of the mid game. Only issue is that my earlier plan did little bit backfire because we didn't get first tower early as is expected, and the only thing left for us to do is to get the Drake. Luckily for us, we managed to get 2 objectives, hence the next one will be the third one that will give us feats of strength. The only issue with feats of strength, it is, in my opinion, a very bad objective in the game to create this early game fiesta where everyone is trying to reach a power spike, because you will only get a slight increase in your second tier boots, and after that you can increase that advantage by buying, let's call it, tier 3 boots, and by doing so you lose a lot of advantage regarding your second item, because on Volibear you don't need movement speed unless you go for Swifties, and once you get Swifties you really don't need to go for tier 3 boots until the later stages of the game where you have unspent gold. In this instance, I simply want to take 1 grabs just for us to get the Voidlings buff, and I am trying to avoid fighting Graves in 1v1 because, as you all know, Graves damage is not justified by all means. And you will notice that this poor guy is the only one that is trying to win in the enemy team, because he is always on point control of objectives. His team is always on the wrong side of the map. Now this poor Yorick was camped since the start of the game, and the main reason because I know how terrifying Yorick is if left unchecked. On the other hand, our Kled is not that super ahead either in his mechanics or in his gold advantage. As you might notice, I got 4 kills. Most of them were from Yorick. So now that we are playing in the mid game, there are a lot of issues. And the most issue that I can point is that my team is very passive. In other words, they only go for plays that are already starting. And in situation like this, I advise a lot of patience. And you will notice that I will keep saying patience a lot in this game, because most of my previous games where I was forcing plays, the game would be over around 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because there is this huge synchronicity between me and my team. And as a jungler, you need to have a feel for these sorts of things. You need to control the flow of the game. And if you are wondering why I didn't check Hextech Proto build against Graves in this specific game, well, simply because we are playing against Yorick, and that item will be a little bit useless if we get caged inside of Yorick's walls. Hence, I want for Riftmaker because it will give us potent damage that will be converted into scaling damage, because we convert a little bit of our HP into AP for the late game. Usually whenever we say the start of the late game, we mean the Baron call, but with Atakan or Atakhan, or I don't know how you pronounce that name, the concept of the mid game shifted into a sub late game before the start of the true late game. So we wanted here to go for aggressive play, but sadly we got stopped by Yorick teleport. And the funny part is Yorick teleport is one of the weakest teleports in the game, because there is not much of things you can do once you teleport as Yorick. The only thing that you can do as Yorick is apply insane pressure so that the team doesn't know how to deal with you. And after a lot of back and forth, the game shifted completely from a game regarding objectives to a game about who will get the nexus first. The enemy team understood the assignment. They can't win when they are fighting us for objectives. Hence, they decided to end the game as soon as possible. Everything shifted from one split push champion into a team split push. Of course, Riot hates the mentality of split push in League of Legends, and they want to create obstacles in any possible way so that the game can stay alive. And you should end the game as a team, not as a solo player. Well, this logic will backfire, because as a team only relies on your AD carry doing the damage properly with a correct setup where you can peel for him, and this doesn't happen much often. It only happens in pro play, and even in pro play it happens in a very random way. So now we are struggling between getting objectives, playing the game, or answering the enemy call for ending the game. They got an inhibitor, while us on the other hand, we are going for the Soul Drake. And you might wonder that in this game we have a strong lead, but to be honest with you, this game is very even, and at any stage of the game the enemy team can close it just by pushing mid if we mismatch one macro call. Truth to be told, I had a feeling at this instance in the game that we will be losing it. Now, even though that we will get the Soul Drake, we have a lot of gold, a lot of good itemization. The only issue is that we don't have pressure. Gragas wants to group, Kled wants to group because he took Ignite instead of Teleport, and our AD carry is crying since the start of the game. The other part is that even Kled can't 1v1 Yorick. I have no reason why, so I decided that from this instance forth, we will kill Yorick before any major objective. With this slight call, we will have enough time to get any objective safely, and in the process, if we manage to catch anyone in the path, we can kill him and secure the win. And even with this, my team don't want to win the game because we are moving as 5. Because I was spamming in my team that I only need 1 damage dealer. You guys should go back and defend. Yorick not be seen around. But the funny part is that the enemy team started sacrificing themselves so that Yorick will end the game. So the enemy team shifted from blaming Yorick from losing the early game into hoping that Yorick will end the game in the late game, which is a little bit funny. Right now, every little call matters. And at this instance, we are just trying to create one team fight that will give us enough time to end the game before Yorick can backdoor. And the other issue is that even if we kill Yorick, my team will not be on the objective at the right time. But on the other hand, we are very strong. And I believe I am the strongest one on my team. Even with this tanky build, I can at least kill 2 guys before they can finish me off properly. And earlier, we failed to stop Yorick from taking the inhibitor again. Grags died, an embarrassing death, I might add. And we are trying to survive even with all these shenanigans. Now, the story shifted. Instead of us chasing Yorick to end the game, Yorick is chasing us to stop us from backing and secure the game. And even with that, their plan did backfire. Now you might wonder how game have become so hard in season 15. Well, the answer is simple. There are so many objectives on the game. Even in the previous season with 2 objectives, decision making was very hard for the team as a whole. And since Riot wants to push this mentality of team play, you cannot properly communicate what to do because everyone thinks he is the shot caller, and this is very bad. Hence, we need to create this team leader position so that the games are much more easy to manage. Here I was pinging to Grags to jump over the wall and do something to bother Graves from contesting the Elder Drake. But sadly, I couldn't communicate that we are playing tanky Volibear, hence we can't outsmite Graves with his combo, and with that we lost the Elder Drake. Well, that call was very tilting. Some would say I failed the smite, but it is what it is. I always believe smiting in this situation is a 50-50 chance unless you are playing Nuno or Shogat. So we are back to our original plan. There is no objective on the map. They got Elder. They didn't do much with it. We got Baron. We couldn't end the game with it. So we are trying to stop their split push, and hopefully with that we will get enough time to end the game. Now, can I win 1v1 situation against Yorick that was feeding all game? I don't think so. Yorick is made so that in the late game, I believe that Yorick is the 2nd or the 3rd scaling champion in the game, after Illawi and Mega Gnar. Hence you will get very strong as Yorick at your level 18 even with shitty items. I only made this call because in the minimap you can see that Kled is in rage for his ultimate and Twitch is invisible, so that I was trying and hoping to set up the perfect skirmish for us to at least kill 1 or 2 of the enemy team. And luckily for us, we managed to kill 2 of the hardest one on the enemy team. It was Silas and Yorick. And with this, we finally managed to break this back and forth since the start of the mid game. So as you can see, in season 15, everything shifted from the early game decides everything to the mid game decides in everything. Hence, you should always build, in my opinion, for scaling items, have a lot of patience, and avoid playing with allies that are not okay in the brain. In other words, they don't think, or they need someone to think for them or tell them what to do. Because in my opinion, you should avoid typing. Whenever you type, you lose focus from the game, and from typing it goes to flaming, and from flaming to insults, and with that you simply lose the game with letters instead of actions. Well, based on my previous games, I believe that this one summarizes everything that I should focus on to be better in season 15. Because it highlights that the current mentality of the game is either about objectives or simply ignore everything and end the game. Well, this is it for today's video. I hope everyone that you have enjoyed it. Until the next one, take care everyone and peace.